So happy to be here. I did kind of zone out for the first two, but I'm sure at this point we've all gathered that coming out is a breeze. And it's just, kind of a unforgettable chapter of your life with no emotional repercussions. Leaves all your relationships intact. And, I don't know, your parents don't care. They're the ones who raised you in Park Slope. So, and then you're just kind of like in a school play when you're 14, and everyone's, all the girls are getting changed in the same room, and the play takes place in the 1800s, so they're all getting into corsets, and you look around and everything kind of clicks, and then you're just like, great, and you move on. Or some version of that.
Welcome to Closet Cases, the show where LGBTQ comedians and performers tell their coming out and transitioning stories live on stage and later go deeper into a podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Vixy Youngblood. You know her from the New York comedy scene, improv, and stand-up, but you may have also heard her in a recent Lifetime Christmas promo where she sings. Welcome, Vixy. How's it going?
Good. I don't know if 2 years counts as recent.
I think 2 years can be recent.
Great. Then it does.
Yeah.
You're the boss.
I'm the boss, sure.
Yeah. Of this narrow issue.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for doing the podcast.
Of course. What choice did I have?
You didn't.
Yeah.
I'm holding a gun to your head right now.
Yeah, but I thought we weren't going to say that in the podcast.
Well, you know what? That's why there's editing.
Right. You'll edit that out. Great.
Exactly. And now...
Help me. If anyone's listening to this.
Well, full disclosure, we actually work together at A&E Networks, which is pretty great.
Which has a lot of Lifetime movies, which is why our heads are in the I'm holding her captive kind of space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where most men are, especially politicians and women's uteruses.
Topical.
Topical, exactly. And this is going up tomorrow, so we're going to be in a good spot. Now, I want to explain to those who are listening that what you don't know about the night that Vixy performed is that we strategically put her after a comedian named Lisa Kaplan, who you'll hear in a few more episodes. She's in her 50s. She's got a lot of story to tell, and she didn't have a very good relationship with her mother.
No.
And so putting Vixy's story after hers was kind of strategic.
Yes.
Which I thought was pretty funny.
It was great. That was your idea.
Yeah.
It was a great idea.
Well, thank you.
I think it worked perfectly.
It really did.
Yeah, and she's amazing. It was hard to follow her.
Yeah, she's
so good.
She's great. And so are you. You're phenomenal.
Oh, stop.
And before I play your next clip, I want to find out, what 18th century play were you doing?
Spoon River Anthology, ever heard of it?
No.
Me neither. No one has. It was just this little, it was like as 18th century as you could get. It was just these little these little vignettes of, hi, we're in the 18th century, here we are. Wow. That was each one, pretty much.
Did you have a bustle?
What's that? What's a bustle?
A bustle is sort of what you would put over top the corset to make your skirt balloon out a little bit.
Yes. We had these wait, did I? I know some of us did. I know I had a corset the whole time. And there was this one costume change I had to do where I had to have this just my corset and my little silk pants on, and I thought I looked really good. So I would make a point of being like, oh, I have to go back into costume shot. I forgot something. Oh, sorry, I have to go into the hallway and walk by everyone and be like, so that I could show it off and be like, oh, sorry, I forgot this again. Oh, I just have to run back and get, and everyone was like, we hate you. Just kidding.
I'm going to play another little clip, basically talking about calling your parents for some information.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go listen to that quick.
Okay.
No, that's not true. I know that's not true. I have had an embarrassingly easy life. Especially in this respect. My parents, very accepting, liberal. I actually, to the point where I didn't know really what I was going to say or what story I was going to tell for this show. And so I actually called my parents and I was like, do you guys have any memories of like me coming out or talking about my sexuality? And they were like, well, no, because we didn't. Why would we have a memory of it? It was just we're so it doesn't even matter to us. So we wouldn't even process as a memory in our brains. And I was like, well, no, I know, but like there must have been some kind of like I was straight, and then a change over to when you knew that I was something else, and they were like, no, we couldn't even understand what that was meaningless to it. I don't even, and I was like, okay, I guess shut up. Okay, okay. So I was useless.
Okay, so you grew up in Park Slope, and for those of you listening, it's actually a pretty liberal neighborhood in Brooklyn that's predominantly populated by a large lesbian population.
Yes.
And I'm assuming your parents are super liberal.
Yes, yeah. And they'll be the first ones to say it and think that saying it means that that's the end of what you have to do to be it's like... So, yeah, when I called them, they immediately, for help from mom and dad, they immediately made it about how they were how could they possibly answer this question? They are just, we never even thought for a second about, I won't, do it again because you guys just heard it. But, they were so excited to be able to answer this question by talking about how open and democratic they were, which is by the way, I love them and they're great, which is why I'm making fun of them. It's okay.
Yeah,
if they're listening, they're not.
Oh no, I'm sure they will. They were lovely at the show.
Oh yeah, they came.
Which I thought was pretty great.
Have people's parents come before?
I think actually this is the first time parents of the comedian have ever come to the show.
Wow.
Yeah. So you were a Closet Cases first. Give it up for Vixy Youngblood, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Applause. Now, coming out was pretty easy for you. Do you have sort of an equivalent of what I would call survivor's guilt? For those who've gone through much worse?
Now I do. Yeah, definitely. I think about this all the time. It feels sometimes to me, at least from where I sit, that a lot of the bonding within the community and what makes the queer community strong, just like any, I think, in identity politics, aligning with a certain identity, you align because of the struggle in some ways, or maybe because is too strong. I don't know if it's causal, but part of what brings people together is the shared suffering.
Right.
And so
catharsis.
I sometimes struggle to figure out how I fit into that because I didn't experience that much of a struggle, if any. So yeah, I think about that a lot. I think it's a little bit of guilt and a little bit of more selfishly just where do I fit in? Where do I how can I align myself with the community and be a part of it and really feel like I am a part of it without that kind of shared history, I guess. But of course, everybody's different. Everybody has a different story. So,
well, you don't need to have a crazy coming out story to be part of the LGBTQ plus community.
And most importantly, I don't have to have a crazy story to be in the Closet Cases show, which was really all I ever wanted. That was my agenda the whole time.
What I loved about your story is just the simplicity of you not necessarily having to come out. And I think that makes the show, what makes the show so interesting is that this is a brand new perspective that we've never had on the show, where it's like, I can't even get my parents to give me anything good for the show type of thing. But that was a funny punchline. And I loved your setup about, I missed the first two stories, but hey, I'm sure it was so easy for you and nothing. And I think that just added a really great perspective to the show.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. Yeah, when we first talked about doing the show, I remember we came in or I don't know if we had already talked about it, but when I said that I wanted to talk to you about what my set was going to be like, and I said, so, I'm one of those people who didn't really have a hard time coming out, and you were kind of like, oh, yeah, we've never really had that before, and I was like, ugh. What? That it was pretty scary, actually, honestly, looking back, going into it, I was pretty worried about how that would be perceived, and like if taking that approach and that attitude would be I don't know, like if it would, I really didn't know how it was gonna resonate with people, and I had a great time. So I stacked the audience with my parents, my friends, so that helped, but it was a really good time.
But I think from my perspective, being a little, maybe a year or two older than you,
Just if that,
just seeing that these stories exist.
Yeah.
That there are families who are very accepting, and there aren't any speed bumps of you coming out of the closet, and I think that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
So I think this is a very important story to tell. So I thank you for doing that.
Shawn, thank you.
No, please.
I realized when I was attracted to girls, when I was looking at a girl and I was attracted to her. It's kind of a dead giveaway. But I still, there was definitely a period of questioning it. I wasn't sure, I knew I wasn't straight, but I was like, but I know I'm attracted to girls, and I know I'm attracted to guys, and then I think there was a point where I was questioning, and I was like, am I attracted to girls? Was it just the corsets? So I was questioning that. Am I attracted to girls really? Then right on cue, I saw a little movie called Vicky Cristina Barcelona. I don't remember who directed it. Don't say it if you know. And it was some woke woman, I think. But so, if you haven't seen it, Scarlett Johansson and Penelope Cruz are in a throuple with the serial killer from No Country for Old Men. Which, if you didn't think was your fantasy, it is. And so, I'm sorry, I'm just still thinking about that movie. Okay, so there's a scene in it though after where Scarlett Johansson's straight friend is like, oh, so are you a bisexual? And then Scarlett Johansson says, I don't feel the need to label everything. I'm just me. And I was like, Scarlett Johansson, you brilliant slut. Doing away with labels? I'm gonna do that. So I really liked that one, the doing away with labels thing. So I tried to bring it up all the time everywhere I went, and I would be at a party and then I would join a circle and just be like, so yeah, labels, right? I don't believe in them. And they'd be like, what? And I'd be like, identity is a myth. And people would be like, okay, what? And I'd be like, just haven't you seen Vicky Cristina Barcelona? And I'd be like, guys, identity is a myth. We're all just straight. Nobody's straight. Everybody's just I'm my me, and you're your, and nobody's really a person, and everyone is just attracted to a thing that's and just identity is a myth. And then someone was like, "Oh, no, it's not." Like I'm gay, and I was like, "No, you think you are, but you're just we're all just we just are what?" And they were like, "No, I'm gay. That's my identity." And I was like, "Oh, okay." This might not get that much traction. And then somebody at some point was like, what you're describing sounds like pansexual. And I was like, I'm doing away with labels, identity as a myth. What is that? What is pansexual? Somebody explained to me what pansexual was. I have a feeling that the people in this room generally have an understanding of the meaning of the word pansexual.
Who did you first look at when you realized that you were attracted to her?
Oh God, it all comes out now. It was actually the older sister of a close male friend of mine.
Oh wow.
And that was confusing. But I remember kind of thinking, so it really was in a lot of ways that simple. It was, I saw someone I was attracted to, and that's how I knew I was attracted to girls. And it didn't feel like that big a deal. I did also kind of think, I might have a slightly more inconvenient life. The possibility that I might not be straight, I was really the strongest negative or confusing reaction to that I had internally was just oh, this might be a bit of a hassle. That was really as difficult as I expected it to be. And it also hasn't even really been that. Yeah, well, wait, what was your question? Oh, who was it? Yeah, so it was an older girl. I was did I say I was a freshman? Yeah, it must have been a freshman. I think she was a junior or a senior. And it wasn't this falling in love or this big first thing. It was just, the way you look at someone who's hot and you think is hot on the train or whatever. And I was just okay. We'll do that. Let's do this. Life.
So you wouldn't call it a legitimate crush. It was just I
totally had a continued crush on her, but it wasn't it wasn't so powerful. That was the thing. It was just as powerful as any crush I had before that. It was just with the footnote that it was a girl.
Yeah. Did your crushes manifest into anything drawings, or did you write any
I wish.
Personal fanfic?
Oh man, I wish. No. Next question. She manifested in sadness and disappointment.
We have to talk about Vicky Cristina Barcelona.
Yes, always.
Wow. So I've never seen this movie.
Shawn.
I know. I had to watch the trailer just to kind of get some context before I did the interview.
Okay.
And Woody Allen, which I for some reason thought was Woody Harrelson before this.
You learn something new every day.
I sure did. But I love that some sick white straight man fantasy sort of helped you realize sort of who you were.
Of course. Well, yeah. I mean, that's always to look back on something that you really like or affected you or is important in your life, a piece of art, and it's oh, it was a creep who did it.
How old were you when you saw this movie?
Oh, good question. It must have been, when did it come out? I don't know. I was probably 14.
14 years old.
It must have been, I think it was around the time, no, probably older, 14, 15. I don't know.
And I like that you said that you went to parties and you were trying to let people know that labels aren't a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you landed on the term pansexual.
Yeah.
And where did you discover that term?
A friend of my sister, so my sister's 4 years older than me, and we were at some holiday party. She went to, I don't remember where, she went to some liberal arts school and it was winter break and she was home from college and she was telling me about how she was pansexual, and I was like, what's that? And she explained it to me, and I was like, well, I can't wait to get to college. And like, it was just as she kind of explained the definition to me, I was like, oh, there it is. That's good. I'll go with that. And then kind of like assume that, or act like I'm assuming that everyone knows what it means, but then, really just jump on the opportunity to explain it to everyone. Like, oh, pansexual. Oh, you've never heard of it? This is it's basically this. I mean, as a pansexual myself, after like the day after learning what it was,
You're an instant expert.
Yeah,
Basically.
instant expert, yeah. But then that just became also, I think ultimately I just got a little frustrated or disenchanted or something with the exercise of naming and labeling at all, just because, I don't know, kind of in this bitter, resentful way of like, why do I have to like give a word to this part of who I am? Like, this is just, why can't it all just be taken for granted that I'm just gonna be attracted to people and not genders? And like, why, just kind of that frustration of like, why isn't the way I am and that I express myself sexually, why isn't that just a given? Why does that have to be this stumbling block over which I have to like go to a dictionary and like, provide a definition? So I sort of have stopped. I'm honestly still in the process of, it could change tomorrow what I say when I still don't have a really good, solid way of having the conversation that's like, wait, you dated a girl? Wait, so you're gay? No. Oh, you're bi? No. So what? And I'm just like, I'm just who I am. Like, that's not gonna last. Like, just kind of. So I think pansexual honestly probably is the best one-worder for how I identify. But I like to, as I think I said in the set, I just go with queer because it's pretty vague, and I think it implies not straight, and that's kind of all I really care about getting across. But yeah.
Growing up, I feel like queer, when people call me that, it was like a weapon. And now, I think a lot of people are taking it back. Like John Cameron Mitchell was one of the first people I heard who identified as queer himself. Yeah. And I feel like that, it's like sort of taking the power back from that word. And I like that I think today queer comedies is sort of how we describe, the show. And I think how a lot of other comedy shows, the LGBTQ people on it, they identify as queer versus like, it used to be just gay comedy.
Sure.
And I kind of like that it's more all-encompassing of the spectrum.
Yeah. No, it's interesting that you say that, because that kind of comes back to, again, like, is it my place to claim that word when it's a word that people who aren't me have struggled with and dealt with? Like, is it mine to reclaim when I never, like, there's no re to it? Like, I never, I'm like lucky enough that it has never been a negative word in my life. And so there are problems with that too. I think it's hard for me to find a word that I identify with because, just because of the same stuff I was talking about earlier. It's like this word is so important to so many people because of a certain kind of pain and struggle, and that's not something I ever had. So do I have the right to use it? I don't know.
I think you do, because here's the thing,
That's all I wanted to hear.
No, but here's the thing is like you may have not had struggle. And, the struggle that I had growing up as a kid was much less than the people, in the Stonewall era were dealing with. So it's sort of, next month is going to be World Pride here in New York City, where we do honor Stonewall, and a place where we actually perform. And it was a trans woman of color who basically threw a rock at the police that basically started off the the LGBTQ rights movement, which I think is pretty fantastic. And the fact that you don't have a struggle in your life doesn't mean that you have any less reason to use the word queer than anyone else.
Oh, thank God. Our work here is done.
We've solved all the world's problems right now.
No, that's really good to hear. It means a lot.
So guys, this is pansexual. Let's see how that goes. So at some point I was talking to my dad, and I was like, hey, I'm pansexual. Do you know what that means? And my dad was like, so pansexual, pan, the Latin root, every... And I was like, yeah, you get it. And he was like, yeah. Time passes. Like later that day, there's a tube of dog toothpaste on the table. My parents brush their dog's teeth. It's not really that important. I just feel like it paints kind of more of a picture of my upbringing. Anyway, okay, so dog toothpaste on the table, and my dad picks it up and he's like, are you attracted to this? And I was like, no. Are you? And I was like, no, just because before, so I'll spare you the back and forth of utter confusion. He thought that being pansexual meant that I was attracted to everything. And I was like, oh, I'm not brave enough for this. Like, I can't live this life of my dad asking me if I'm attracted to a tube of dog toothpaste. Like, I don't think so I dropped pansexual forever. Just for me, because I can't anymore. But, so anyway, I landed on queer. That's the word I use because it's conveniently vague and it's one syllable. And I am super lucky that I get to experiment with that kind of figuring out of my identity at all. And I am very grateful that I've grown up being able to have that kind of freedom. So thanks everyone who's made my queerness a very safe experience. That's it.
I think one of my favorite stories of Closet Cases history is your father picking up the tube of dog toothpaste and asking if you're attracted to it. I think I laughed out loud listening to it again. It was so funny, and it's such a powerful visual that I was like, I can't believe you went through that. Like, how did that make you feel when your father said that?
I think it was one of those moments of just like, oh, you're never gonna quite be there. Like, we'll never really land on the same page. I could explain this more and better and do my best to kind of like fill in the gap between reality and am I attracted to dog toothpaste? Like, I can do that, but we're just never really gonna be right there. Like, you are straight. But no, yeah, my dad is one of those people who he's a curious person, really wants to understand things, wants to understand me, wants to know what's going on with me, what's going on in my life. And so he takes it all in. So, I'll say something like that about just, pansexual, and he'll make the connection to the Latin root, pan means every, and then he'll just wait. He'll just, oh, okay, he'll absorb. And then and then I think the conversation's over, and then he's still thinking. So he's one of those people who'll just he'll be thinking about it later, and he'll just, so this? Are you attracted to this? Like, we're not having that conversation anymore. This is just out of nowhere.
Tell your dad to watch the Objectum Sexuality documentary on Netflix.
Wait, did Viceland do something with that?
They might have done their own, but there was one on Netflix about objective
I saw that.
sexuality. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I shouldn't make fun of it. It is a thing.
It is. But I love that your dad didn't. That he tried, but completely misfired.
And that he was fine.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
thinking that, like, dog toothpaste was within my realm of sexual attraction, like, didn't make him freak out.
Right.
So
yeah.
that's nice, I guess.
I know. You have the best parents, by the way.
Oh, they're good. They're really
so
good.
sweet.
I like them a lot.
And when you talk to your mother about, identifying as queer and not being attracted to gender, but to people, does she seem very open to it? Does she seem to have a firm grasp?
Yeah, definitely. She doesn't care. Like she really likes to, again, and you know what? She should be. Like, she's very proud of her own liberalness in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll do a little anecdote here. I don't know if it's good, but she was telling me about some family friend who they were visiting. There was some 14-year-old boy there, and she was telling me about how he was so, he was so bright and he was so great to talk to. And, I was talking to my friend later, and she said, I think he's that kid. I think he might be gay. Do you? What do you think? And my mom, this is my mom to me, she was like, and Victoria, you would be so proud of me. You know what I said? I said, I really don't know, and I don't think it matters. And I was like,
Mommy Youngblood.
And I made her a medal out of pasta, like in kindergarten. So she's
so
very like, she very much wants. She's very accepting of my identity, and she definitely wants me to know it. So that's nice.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah. Your parents are really great. They're super
cool.
sweet at the show.
They're cool.
Where else can people see you? Where can people find you?
Oh boy. I'm going to give a really specific, like, if you want to see me doing a little bit of stand-up and then acting out a fictionalized version of myself in a, like, Seinfeld / Louis type format little webisode. So we did this in college. We did a show. We did 6 episodes of it.
Ooh.
And each one was, and we also did a live show, stand-up show, and then made episodes for each one with a different comedian. That were like 10 minutes long or whatever, and they would kind of be like in those sitcoms, like they would be like kicked off by a little excerpt from the stand up, and then
nice.
and then a little like scene from our life that's like scripted, but it's like we're all playing ourselves in it. So if you wanna if you are just blown away by that glowing description, you can go onto YouTube, my friends, and type in other tragic people, Vixy, Vixy.
Very nice.
And you'll be the 804th viewer of that video.
Do you check every day to see if it's ticked a little bit?
Every day.
Amazing.
I've been at 803 for so long.
Well, now after this podcast, who knows what'll happen? Well, thank you so much for doing this today. I really appreciate it. I know you got a busy day.
No, this is great.
Val, this is a great conversation.
It is. I'm so happy that I got to do the show and that I got to hang out with you now.
Yeah, but we'll hang out some more later.
Win-win. Oh my God, we are?
We can, whenever.
Can't wait.
We can hang out all the time.
I can't wait.
All right. Well, thank you guys also for listening. If you want to subscribe, please do wherever you get your podcast. And you can also follow us on social media. You can follow us at Closet Cases on Twitter, Closet Cases Show on Instagram and Facebook, and go to closetcasesshow.com to find out when the next show is. It's going to be July 15th. Check back to see the lineup, subject to change. And then remember, it may have been dramatic then, but isn't it hilarious now? Thank you again, Vixy.
You are welcome. Thank you.
You're amazing.
You are.
You are.